INEOS, as long-term manager options so far aren't the most encouraging names. Michael Carrick is going out of his way, working with the youth, and, even having conversations about more longer-term things, like if he was to get the job, he would like to bring back Marcus Rashford. Could Carrick become more than an interim? I think any decision on Carrick will not be made to April. It'd be silly to make a decision this early. We don't know what's going to happen between now and the end of the season. But why is Carrick delivering a statement, and why could this be promising? More news and reports is coming out on Manchester United's midfield plans for the midfield January this summer, more updates coming out. And young Manchester United centre-back Reece Bennett has now left on a permanent. Joe Hugo and Reece Bennett have left this window on a permanent. Toby Collier, has gone out on loan to Hull. Harry Amos has gone out on loan to Norwich. He was recalled and gone out on loan to Norwich, among other United stories. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup show, where if you're new to the channel, every single day I do a 10-minute long video, but I round up all the news in regards to Manchester United for you guys, tell you what's credible, what's not credible, and more. Starting with mid-level source, TalkSport. This could be fear-mongering, this could be scaremongering, but this is what they're reporting. Southgate tipped to take a new job in the summer. Manchester United have previously linked to an interest in Southgate. It was believed that he, along with Palace boss Glasner and Bournemouth coach Iriola, were potential replacements for the sacked Ruben Amorim. I'm going to say this something now. Manchester United had 3 opportunities to bring in Gareth Southgate, and they've never acted on any of those opportunities. They could have brought him in instead of Ten Hag. They could have brought him in when they wanted to sack Ten Hag and bring in Tuchel, and they could have brought him in instead of Michael Carrick. If Manchester United had 3 opportunities to bring Gareth Southgate in and have not brought Gareth Southgate in once, that is because Manchester United do not want Gareth Southgate. I've said this for ages. Dan Ashworth never wanted Gareth Southgate. INEOS never wanted Gareth Southgate. The Gareth Southgate rumours came out because 1, scaremongering, it got clicked because Man United fans didn't want him. 2, because Southgate's agent was putting things out there. Manchester United do not want Gareth Southgate. I would be absolutely shocked if we went for him, because everything I've heard from people credible is that we have no plans to move for Gareth Southgate. Yes, Steve Holland has come in as our assistant coach. He worked with Gareth Southgate at England, but that is because he's an experienced assistant coach. Dan Ashworth never tried to get Southgate. Manchester United are not actively looking at Southgate. Southgate's always wanted the Manchester United job. Southgate likes his name being out there, and he likes his name being linked to Man United, and his agent's probably pushing things out there. But every time we get linked to Southgate, I'm convinced it is scaremongering from the media, because it gets clicks, because it gets interactions, because United fans don't want it to happen. It's also believed that Crystal Palace boss Oliver Glasner and Iriola are on the list as potential replacements, which they are. Glasner and Iriola are on the list as potential Amorim replacements, but because both managers aren't doing as well this season, they're not that strong candidates. If Carrick gets top 4, and our options are stay with Carrick, Southgate, Glasner, and Iriola, I'm staying with Michael Carrick. If Carrick gets top 4 and our options are Tuchel and Ancelotti, that's when we have a conversation. I'm not convinced right now that Iriola, Glasner, and Southgate are improvements on Carrick. Some of them, I wouldn't even argue that much of an improvement on Ruben Amorim, which people might say is crazy because Ruben Amorim had a 32% win rate. But I do not want these managers. I used to like Glasner, but I've seen him this season. I've seen what Thomas Frank's done this season, how Thomas Frank is struggling at a bigger team. And I think Glasner could be the same, and I think Iriola could be the same. Diving into Steve Holland, who obviously worked with Southgate, which I think is, again, where some of the Southgate links are coming to. Michael Carrick and Steve Holland are attending a Manchester United's under-18s game today, taking interest in the long-term talents of the club. Michael Carrick has been spotted at 3 or 4 Manchester United Youth Academy games since he's been in charge, which is more than Ruben Amorim. And I think it is Carrick trying to make a statement. Obviously people laugh about the United DNA, and I think there was a misconstruction of the United DNA as you've got to play youth in the back 4. No, the United DNA isn't you've got to play youth in the back 4, but the United DNA is taking risks and trying to win games at all costs. When Arsenal make it 2-2, Ruben Amorim would have sat back and gone for the 2-2. Michael Carrick wanted the 3-2 win. Darren Fletcher was willing to give Shea Lacey a chance. Ruben Amorim wouldn't potentially have done that. And I think the youth and the taking risks and the looking to win games and even relying on the youth to see if they can win a game is a part of the United DNA that I think people misunderstood maybe under Amorim. And I do feel like Carrick showing an interest in the youth, particularly Jim Thwaites, particularly Shea Lacey, is a little bit of a statement to INEOS of, look, I might be interim manager, but I really care about this club and I really care about the future of this club and I'm really, enjoying my job. And Carrick was asked about why he attends so many academy matches. He said, "I don't do it because I feel obliged to, but because I enjoy going to watch the matches to see who's doing well. It's important to keep an eye on the young players, and opportunity is sometimes closer than you think. What we try to integrate them into training so they feel the environment and can learn from their elders." Do you know what I like about this? Is Ruben Amrin brought on Jack Fletcher this season as a youth player, and Jack Fletcher got a bit lost in those games. But Ruben Amrin picked up Jack Fletcher, who was a centre mid, and played him right wing. When you have a right wing in Shea Lacey, and I think it was quite clear that Ruben Amrin had not watched the academy games when he's getting Jack Fletcher and playing him centre mid. Jack Fletcher playing him right wing when he's a centre mid and leaving Shea Lacey, who's a right wing, on the bench. And when he did bring on a winger, he brought on Mantato over Shea Lacey when Shea Lacey is the better of the two. I think it's good that Carrick actually watches the youth games, so Carrick will know who plays where and who's better in what position. I think if Ruben Amrin brought on Shea Lacey for Zirks instead of Jack Fletcher, and instead of playing Jack Fletcher out of position, Man United may have done better. I don't understand why you bring on a youth player and you play him out of position when you've got an even better youth player in that position on the bench. And maybe Amrin didn't know that because he didn't watch the youth. And I think there is an importance of watching the youth. You know, a lot of youth players won't be ready, but when there's in times of injuries, in times of desperation, we need to rely on the youth to do something for us. And they've done that time and time again, you know, in the FA Cup final, Garnacho and Cobby scoring. And I think Carrick watching the youth and knowing where they play is important. And these are the two youth players that Carrick has his eye on. Jim Thwaites in midfield as a potential DM recycling possessions, and then Shea Lacey as a winger, as United are low on wingers. However, he's a right winger and we're very low on the left. It was actually said by Sully yesterday that Jim Thwaites is closing in on a return from injury and has been training on grass again. He's seen as one of the best technical talents internally, and Carrick has a liking towards him. I don't know if we'll see much of Jim Thwaites and Shea Lacey this season because the squad is very big. We've only got 15 games to the end of the season, but they're two young players that Michael Carrick is keeping an eye on, and this is why it feels like it's a bit of a statement from Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick hasn't just won his first two games, but I feel like he's working like a long-term manager. He's analysing the Arsenal game, watching it back multiple times in his rest days, watching back the City game multiple times in his rest days. He's watching academy matches. I say rest days, it's a day off for Carrick. On his day off, he's watching the Arsenal game, he's watching the City game, he's watching the academy matches. He's showing an interest, and he's showing INEOS he understands the club. You know, he's looking at the youth because he's clearly got an interest in the club's future, which would suggest that Carrick is thinking, if I was more than an interim, I need to know who the, youth players are, how good they are. For me, I feel this is a statement from Carrick just to show the club, I am interested. I am interested in the future of this club. And I like that from Carrick. Now, again, I'm not saying give Carrick the job. We may lose to Fulham. It may be awful between now and the end of the season. Carrick may not be good enough. We're only 2 games in. I think any decision needs to be made in April. And even if Carrick does really well, we still need to interview other candidates to make sure. But I think that Carrick is making a statement. Romano himself said, obviously, if Carrick will continue like this, I think he has a chance for sure. If we go and beat Fulham and we go and beat Tottenham, win 4 games in a row, there is going to be talk of, Amrin never won 4 games in a row. You know, could Carrick get the job? You never know. But it is very early. But one thing that stands out about Carrick, and one of his biggest statements, was this. Benjamin Sesko's introduction for Dorga with United leading 2-1 and Carrick sending a signal to push for a third goal was the kind of positive attacking minded substitution in keeping with the club's history not witnessed under Amorim. And this is what cost Amorim. Amorim, if we were 2-1 up, would have taken Dorga off and he would have brought on Aiden Heaven and he would have tried to shut up shop for a 2-1 and we probably would have ended 2-2 and bottled it. Michael Carrick was attacking, so even when Arsenal made it 2-2, we were set up to attack, to have that winner, to make it 3-2. That's what I liked about Michael Carrick, is he didn't do that Ruben Amorim, sit back, be scared when it's 2-1 or 2-2. He wanted a third goal. And I like that from Carrick, and I think that was a statement in itself. In regards to the Fulham game, Carrick said it would be criminal to underestimate Fulham. When you watch their matches, they play very well and they have a very good team. The lads are aware of it. After us, Fulham are actually second best in the form table over the last 5 games and have been in really good form the last 2 months, climbing up the table, so we cannot underestimate Fulham. There's been talk about Mason Mount, him not playing many minutes under Carrick, but it's only been 2 games. I think people are over-exaggerating on that. And Carrick himself said he's a big fan of Mason Mount. There's so many good things he can do, and that's why we have a squad. I like Mason a lot. He is an important player for the team and club, but he's not going to get over Bruno, but he's an important player. There is talk if Carrick did get the permanent job, he'd bring back Marcus Rashford. We're going to talk about that in more detail tonight. There is talk of Baleba being cheaper, a price tag north of 60 million, maybe 75 million, which is possible for Man United to do in January. However, there's a feeling that Brighton will not sell him in January United explored a deal for Baleba apparently early in the window, but apparently we're not expected to progress. Brighton want to hold into the summer. The other two midfielders we explored in the window, apparently Bouadi at Lille and Musakitos at Olympiacos, two young players according to Sky. And we know from Romano that United will go big on midfielders in the summer. They could sign one or two with Casemiro leaving. Surely you have to sign two. If Agate leaves, and Casemiro leaves, I think we have to sign three because I already think we're thin on depth. Now, but that is all your latest Manchester United news, updates and stories. Rhys Bennett has also completed a permanent transfer to Fleetwood Town. Thank you for watching. Bye.